Good morning, everybody. Again, this is Suraj Singh speaking for Bharat India on this day, 23rd, 23rd March 2021, Tuesday, and in connection with this talk, which is very elementary and professional. Title: Civil Field Engineering, Designs, Construction Methods, Organized Sector Quality. Because last video was interrupted, usually happens this time, all time, this happens, and we have to live with that. In that talk, I just inferred with this topic of quality plus designs, construction methods. So there are so many points I have written for your reference. It doesn't mean I'll discuss everything, but I have written is because this is all interlinked. You have to understand this interlink. I'm saying interlink means interlinks is ultimately means quality designs. You can say quality plus designs. You can say designs plus quality. You can say analysis, synthesis, processing, and thinking, contemplation, and application. So ultimately, application, contemplation, thinking, synthesis, analysis. This is one part. You have to apply this. You have to apply analysis means you have to first think. You have to apply means you have to think. And think means contemplation. Think repetition means contemplation. If you are thinking, many times you think, it is called contemplation. You have to drive your way how best you can think on that. That's very important part. So I'll just say all this explained to you in very elementary form, in a form that ordinary person can understand. And I am ordinary person. I'm not top profile, but mind makes you what you are. If you have ability to analyze, you must have ability to think, because analysis involves thoroughly higher profile of thinking. It's not thinking that what should I do if I am feeling hungry? If I am feeling hungry, thinking says take food. That's it. If I am thirsty, I should take water. That is ordinary level thinking. That is not analytical thinking, because that is already established. But if I think of something else, I have to spend a lot of money. I have to spend something, or I have some focus in my mind. I have some objective in my mind. I want to realize that, I want to reach that level. How to do that? That's another point. So we will discuss them. This is non-plant building. What does it mean? This means this building is ordinary building where there is no processing, there's no chemical process, there's nothing in that. There's no oil process. Chapter 3, MS12, the chapter 3, this is for general provisions on safety. Okay, safety will still look somewhere else. We have talked many times. We'll consider that as well. Now, relevant points should be extracted from descriptions in line to requirement. Okay, just because economic. Okay, one minute. Let me read this. Relevant points should be extracted from description in line to requirements on relevant activities. It is to be noted that safety standards vary from organization to organization, company to company, and exclusively be a criteria to avoid or reduce safety measures. Means economy, you cannot say we will save money if safety is not taken care of. You can't say that. A minimum level of safety measures installations should be made a must for a site supervised to ensure that workforce must work safety. It's preferable to work with. Now, we are talking of blinding concrete. We are talking of blinding concrete, and before that is of course excavation, and before that survey. Now if you take into our consideration ordinary building and its activities, we can say, of course, let us say if we are doing that construction based on whatever is available, so activities, of course land is with us. Say we cannot say we are going to buy land or acquire it. We assume land is with us. So what can be there? There can be, we have possession of that land, then we have to do survey work on that land, surveying work, setting out and all that, and then we have to make sure that land is safe, means there is no services running behind underneath. That's a process. It's generally not in such areas which are allotted, means which are ordinary housing. No services are there. I mean, if there's something defined, that's part of that is indicated. So I assume that our piece of land is without any problems. It's not having any reservation to start with. So what points can be there? There can we don't do investigation. We hope, we think that we have, and if we don't have, we get it. So we have certain foundation designs. We excavate and we clear, and we say, okay, we have reached to this excavation level. Now that excavation level is fine. Is it right? Means where we have reached, should we do more? We have used machine and then that's excavation called. Then some makeup of this ground inside or formation level. We can say we have made it to some levels within limits, and if we require, we have to make sure that what is the strength of this soil. The strength of this soil is also important, because we are going to construct building, and maybe we consider some bearing capacity and it is different, or we consider some other parameters of soil and it's different. So to make sure, we should have an opportunity, if we can afford, to conduct bearing test, soil bearing test. Let's say that's done. Now other activities after excavation and dressing, it is you can say conversion of excavation into a set base, set formation, which you call formation level, means FORMATION formation, where we can say we really start after excavation is over, construction on that. So that activity we say formation level. To achieve formation level, really we have to do compaction after watering and all that. We have to do compaction, and compaction means not bad. Base, and you can say where to set. If it is not rock, I'm saying if it's rock, no need to just clean it. But if it's not rock, soil, and there's no need of soil improvement, we can compact it. And if you say no, we have to do soil improvement, and this means we have to excavate more than defined, maybe say 30 centimeter more, 300 or 400 or 500. So we have to excavate more in that case, and fill with graded material, granular material. Granular, when I say it contains grains, it is not very fine. It contains grains, and then there are voids in that grain, so further lower size in that. If you can say 2 or 3 times you have to place, for example, granular, you put 40 mm aggregate, and then you put 20 mm or 12 mm aggregate in that, and then you put some dust on, and then we then water it and compact it to densify it, so that our bad soil has gone, underlevel soil has gone, and we have brought this material, fill or improvement material, to formation level. And soil is called improved in its bearing capacity, And of course, because we have laid graded material, granular graded material, so there are chances that water may move through that one in future if there is water available, or there is chances that water may transport below foundation. It may go. It will not work in capillary action. It will not touch foundation and buildings. It will move in that, and maybe this layer which you laid, it's called soil improvement layer. It works as a filter. It works as a filter, allowing space or allowing permeability below foundation, so it may not affect your foundation by upward flow. And of improvement base formed or without soil improvement, it's compacted and it's ready for this. If you have to apply your chemical treatments, if so required for termite, etc., you can apply. There's no harm that. And then we say we have to now we are ready with everything. We have to lay our, you can say, first concrete. First concrete means concrete because there's a confusion in that. Name is not first concrete, but name is at global level we call it, at engineering level we call it a concrete layer which is there, uneven, roughened at formation level. That if you lay this concrete, non-structural concrete, which is called blinding, it's done. Maybe 50 to 100 mm, depending on design, and do it as concrete is done after this watering, etc. And we do this blinding so that we can say formulation is reached. We have now start actual structural work. It was till now preparatory work, you can say, preparatory works for foundation, and we have this blinding concrete done. Of course, curing has to be done, but then application of impact of soil chemicals, adverse impacts of water soil mobility. It could be chloride penetration, it could be sulfates, soils, and this is laid. Whole foundations have to be wrapped or chemically applied, whatever is your project detail says. Whatever is that means either this is wrapped in heavy duty foundations, heavy duty membrane, this chemical membrane, ultimate membrane, or it may be application of chemical process, that may be, you can say, polymerized cement or whatever it is, and protection of that further. So you can say after doing blinding, you have to apply. No, there is no use of this. This can be harm. So on that, we used to do it in, I think, in 25 in those times, 25 years back. Apply some protection membrane, protection mortar layer, 20 mm, 15 mm, 25 mm, very thin possible on those horizontal laid membrane. And after that, this activity is over, you can say waterproofing starts, and we have to start with our further works. And for works means for foundation, what actually do we need? We need, prefabricated cages or prefabricated steel reinforcement, or if not prefabricated, we have to cut on site after layout of foundation is done, foundation layouts and beam layout is just beams. Then we have to fix this. All steel reinforcement and bent according to bar bending schedule, or it's called generally BBS. If you have, or you do your way and cut the requirement and fix on site, and before that, before doing this, must have produced concrete spacers or concrete covers. We call them concrete covers. Do they plastic spacers, plastic covers are also available, but I think it's better to do in concrete because ultimately there's family material of structure. People abuse this in our country also. Some people use brick bats, some people use aggregates. No, this is not acceptable because concrete cover is very structural item, protective structural item, you can say, not exactly structural item. Concrete cover generally we call it, and this is, maybe in foundation 50 mm, 60 mm, 75 mm, and this distance from steel to concrete end, concrete surface is very important from many viewpoints. Even though you have used waterproofing membrane, but nothing is guaranteed, and it also helps in various energy transformation effects. So whatever cover we say, it may be in foundation or it may be in other elements or members of structure. Everything is defined for this, and that covers you have to produce with, once you produce them in a frame, a timber frame, you just put mortar and put linings of other size, say 40 mm cover, 40 by 40 by 40, 50 mm cover, 50 mm by 50 mm, 50 mm, and binding wires are put in. Then this wet stays on all these covers. Maybe you say in 1 meter by 1 meter framing, you say how many covers can be cast. If you say you cast 50 mm covers in 1 meter, 50 mm in what 1000 mm it is in 1 meter. So 50 mm you cast means 15 to 20. So I can say 20 covers in one 50 mm, then 100 mm like this. So 1000 mm. You can cast how many covers you can say, and both ends 1 meter by 1 meter. If you take the framing, you can hundreds of covers you can cast in that, because 50 mm is one, and you can say in one 20, and if you get 50 and 20, this means 1000. So 400 covers that come out of one framing, and you can say if you cast 50 mm by 50 mm by 50 mm, and then 75 mm also, or 45, I'm sorry, 40 or 30 or 20, you must have produced them before doing everything. And this is a part of professional activity. This is these concrete spaces, and depends on how do you do that. As many spaces you should put within under those steel steel meshes or steel as fabricated reinforcement, maybe footing or maybe combined footing or maybe beams, all that's in foundation. Then also at the same time we start doing formwork for foundations, that is vertical sides. Somewhere it is 40 mm, 400 mm, somewhere 50, whatever is the design, you do all vertical. You can say this activity, then this goes after this when steel pipe is over. I'm sorry, steel reinforcement has been done, has been placed. Then there is, formwork at a place, and if there is some, you can say underground insert of pipe, if in case it is, you must have finished that earlier than placing. because we'll discuss them in now these method statements. So blinding is over, you can say bottom membrane is over, and then you can say steel structure, foundation, concrete activities like formwork preparatory mechanism, steel fixing, these are over, and you can say you are ready for the steel foundations and vertical column starter bars. Generally, starter bars are used in first bow, and that is in foundations, and then of course you put all rings, etc., straps, all them, and everything is positioned well, checked well, everything is done, and then you can say we have to pour these foundations, 1, 2, 10, 50, how many foundations you are ready with according to plan, you can pour them, and pouring is activities there, which you can say means procurement of concrete, ready-mix concrete, and then pouring that. So there's activity of foundation. Then of course you have to do the same thing for step columns, and you have to wrap all these foundations, either wrap in waterproofing membrane with protection, or you can apply, say, cold application of waterproofing, or not torch one, whatever torch one you do, you apply that, and then protect if required. This is protection required on membrane. Then we go for stop columns and do formwork and steel again. And because we're talking other activities, I'm not going to say you start critical, cathodic production, not including down here. It is very general. Now go ahead and see, after doing this, that stop columns even cast MCR is somewhere near plinth level or grade level. Of course, if beams are required, there are beams, there's no way out. You have to do that. That's we fill the backfilled in layers. And what's backfill? From where they got backfill? If your excavated material is best suited for this, and that testing has been done, you have to import this backfill material from some source, or you have to design, because the structural backfill. It's not ordinary backfill. Structure is available. You have done the structure. You have produced the structure, and that's the way on that backfill is done. And plinth level or as you can say, how to do that. There's no other way out. And in sequence, you can go with 20 layer to 50 mm, 150 Maybe you have to fill 4 layers, depending on depth, left, and you reach up to ground level, or you can say reach up to you can say grade slab bottom. And then activity of grade slab backfill and itself, whatever was done, properly compacted, and on that you have to work for grade slab, which is concrete slab, RCC slab, having, it's generally used welded wire fabric for that, but it's not necessary. You can use ordinary steel as well, of course, with chairs below. So we have to be very careful if you want to quality work. We have to do, or maybe there's some conduits passing in that grade slab, electrical conduits, or some other services inserts. which you have to do that activity, and then we can say must be some course filler, and top portions are left for bitumax sealant. And then your grade slab is over after concreting is over. So you can say your people call it substructure or foundations, they call it foundation work is over here, and we must be clear about that. Foundation is over. It means practically over, not 100% over, but that's one part. Level to first floor level, then first floor level to second floor level, like that. And these activities we do in general RCC work, which involves columns, beams, and slabs, or if required some in between something is required, we can do that. So those activities of all doing concrete, etc., in addition to this ordinary, foundations or works, we can see we have to move further on first floor, because we have to erect columns, we have to erect beams and slabs, which is general. Likewise, we move further. It's not that difficult. Now, this is what I said. They have to go on, and let's say what actually I want to say. I just wanted to communicate this very talk. What we should do, we should not do. There are many ways, but professionally, what is required is more important than what's seen to be done in sites. You'll see all rubbish work. You'll see all acceptable work or non-acceptable work, which is, people don't know about activities, they don't know about how it should be done. They just see, okay, we have done it, we have got it. They do not know that right. So it is very important part from quality aspect that whatever we do must be done professionally, not otherwise. So let's see what I'll come back again to this position. Let's say what is this blinding concrete says, what is blinding actually? Now, purpose of this statement is to define procedure that will be adopted for preparation and placement of blinding concrete prior to subsequent activity. We have to come to reality. After all, what is purpose? This is purpose. There's scope, then blinding. Small work we can say it is, but don't consider everything small. Let us say what actually done. Purpose of this blinding concrete and procedure shall be adopted for preparation and placement of blinding concrete prior to subsequent activities. And documents means reference documents, wherever you have the specifications you have. Now, what responsibilities you can say? Responsibilities means regarding supervising personnel on site shall be in line according to your plan, quality plan, project approved quality plan. Now, project engineer or manager, organizer, leader, I am giving whatever name, shall arrange materials, equipment and manpower for item and direct site engineer and foment to resort appropriate action, resort to appropriate action by smooth execution of item. That's blinding in this case. All materials for immediate as well as set concrete curing shall be assessed by leader site engineers in conjunction with project engineer. Leaders shall direct supervise, shall direct surveyor for setting out lines and levels. We have the start. The lines and levels are important. A case then, let's say, so shall be responsible to set out form lines and establish top of blinding levels. Survey shall also prepare pre and post-work survey report in conjunction with site engineer for check by Q engineer. Now quality engineer shall check reports as well as setting out all according to drawings and prepare report and post-work survey. What actually is? In construction, there are two ways. One is we have to do survey work, that is pre-activity, and we have to record that as well. And also once concrete is done, it is expected to be done some level, and everything cannot be same, so we have to conduct post-laying survey also, post-concrete survey, though it's only for record's sake, but this give support to what was done. You can compare it for that purpose. Post concrete survey is done, and that's called circles of survey. It can be used for some purpose, many purposes, but generally people don't do it. It's not right. It should be done. Of course it costs, but it tells you how much you achieve in the tolerance you have to achieve. Safety, health and environment. Safety, health and environment, important points. Safety engineer or officer shall monitor, implement all health, safety, environment and environmental precautions. All persons involved shall be imparted toolbox stock for activities concerned and use PPE, that is personal protective equipment, as well as other required equipment whenever necessary. Is material. You see, we have to procure concrete ready from ready mix, whatever defined concrete is. In those days when this statement was prepared, it was SRC, the time sulfate resistant concrete. Not necessarily that we do, but whatever concrete we have to do, it's only for education here. SRC 20 or 25, we have to procure it from ready mix plant, ready mix versus, and then we have to use, you can say, you have to lay this concrete layer from ready mix plant. If polythene sheet is shown, otherwise it's done without that on prepared formation ground. Then if SRC is not available, in those days there was a practice that don't use SRC, just use polythene viscose sheet on that concrete that. It is not considered rightly, but it is that. Now, what is say? How does it work? sake of understanding, I am going to open them. Otherwise, no need. Let us see how these do. Maybe if as well, I think. So these sketches are space. 16, 28, 60, 60, 20. Let's say 16, 28 first. What is 16? Oh my God, again mistake. What to do? Let it be another mistake. Let it be another mistake. Okay, let us say it's a sketch showing here of a building. Why is this so blinding? News your line. It's something else. Sketch 16, then we go to sketch 28. Close this. Close this also. So blinding. Blinding is to play in civil line as well. So see that. It's 67. So sketches are indicating. Only me say how is blinding wherever it is done. How to do it? That's a point to understand. It says that that surveyor shall set out relevant line and level information in such a manner that foremen can relate data to tradesmen. See, we are doing this certain titles here. These are not hard and fast, but it depends on you. Ultimately, work is important. It's titles. It doesn't matter that if surveyor is not available, you cannot do it. It's not like that. Every engineer is a surveyor. Without surveyor work, without survey knowledge, you cannot be called civil engineer. So survey is very basic. Yes, it's question of practice, it's question of experience. And therefore, this person who is experienced in surveying world, we call a survey engineer. When a surveyor means the kind of survey technician or engineer, depending on how difficult work is, how complicated work is. So it's complete engineering, it's not ordinary job. Survey engineer shall set out relevant line and level information in such a manner the foreman can relate data to tradesmen or technicians or artisans. Prior to commencing blinding, formation shall be made to required levels. and profiles. In case SRC is not available for producing grinding concrete, a polythene sheet shall be laid on compacted ground. Leave of timber forms shall be erected for required thickness from formation level after your previous items are one. Necessary top of blinding level shall be fixed, employing a mechanism defined next sequence of start, let's say. Lines which is a profile given and finished level of blinding concrete. Where intermediate level rails are required, these shall be installed such that removal of them as concrete progresses can be achieved efficiently. When blinding, battens and rails are completed, engineer site shall conduct line and level checks with survey engineer. QC or quality engineer shall check correctness of work done, all according to design and specifications. These are general items. Anti-termite application if it's required. Prior to application of anti-termite treatment, contractor, engineer, quality engineer shall inspect formation and request for inspection be prepared for company inspection. I say RFI called generally. It is request for inspection. Anti-termite application carried out on footing areas. Anti-termite treatment shall be applied according to specialist method statements. And foreman, site engineer shall ensure that formation level has been inspected, tested, and approved prior to commencing blinding concrete activity. Blinding concrete shall be placed by direct bore method and finished to smooth surface. Occurrence of ripples or protrusions shall be avoided as application of protective membrane requires a smooth surface finish. Blinding concrete when sufficiently tested, set, be covered with Hessian and water cured for equipment as concrete transit mixer, batching plant, hand tools, and checklist is a test, inspection checklist, what inspection to be done, and review of concrete testers filing system. Cubes taken by concrete supplier at arrival of truck mixer at site shall be tested on 7 to 28 days in presence of company or contractor. QA engineers, then results recorded and signed by all parties immediately. All results shall be forwarded to company office for information and necessary action if something due to failure on 7 to 28 days. Filing of these results shall be made by contractor. Document control based on quality assurance and project engineer direction so as to it's very small item after all. It's very small item but very big item because it's the number one item. This is the number one concrete item. Because ultimately this is going to transfer all loads to soil below. that it means very simple, but it's below proposed all building item. Reinforcement reinforcement, what we call it, receipt, fabrication and storage of reinforcement. Good item good item, you can say. We cannot escape this item. It's very important one. I, I see. I'll be back. Okay, I'll be back. You have to read this. Just a minute, please. I'll be back. can say if there are some intestines, if there are some intestines, there are some bones, there are some veins, this is reinforcement. This body, this is building, this anatomy, that is structure. Say windows are these, and structure of building is anatomy, and reinforcement or rebars, which are in thousands and thousands and thousands in building, bones and intestines, just for understanding comparatively with our body. Every method has certain definitions, certain titles, and some index breakup. So scope of this statement is we adopted for material receipt. Material receipt means receive material. Fabrication means fabricated, and store it means storage of reinforcement on site. In steel fabrication yard, it may be located on site or it may be allotted some other area. For our drawings, cable for reinforcement, we generally call it working drawing, or contractors produced bar bending schedule or given by designer. It depends. It's not necessary. It's a part of procedure. And then specification, that is which are applicable in whatever specification you are using. Important response regarding supervising personnel on site shall be according to project approved quality plan. We cannot simply say in one sentence it is finished. That plan must have certain responsibilities. Those responsibilities must be understood, though it's not given here, but those are the what are responsibilities of supervising personnel on site, and that are responsible for everything from procurement of material, procurement of machines, procurement of workers, understanding contract documents, doing them. All these responsibilities are expensive because money is involved, time is involved, quality is involved. So these are responsibilities given in quality plan, because it is everybody knows on this method statement, but in general this must be understood well. Responsibilities for everything: material, machine, equipment, time, drawings, technical work. So responsibilities which we have to dispose as functionaries, as personnel, as leaders, as part of leadership. Then you can say project leaders shall arrange all materials, equipment, scaffolding, safety items, manpower. For items, direct site engineer and foreman to sort appropriate action. Safety related items and workforce for items, direct site engineer and site foreman to resort appropriately action for appropriate action for smooth execution of items. And what site engineer means? Site engineer shall direct foreman, may here reinforcing bar foreman, or charge him for correct application to bar bending schedule BBS in conjunction with project engineer, and quality professionals shall involve physically During fabrication and check fabricated reinforcing bars all according to drawings and bar bending sketching. These are very general. Now come to safety. What safety is required here? Let's see. Safety is not a joke. It's very important one item as well. Safety. Okay. What is safety requirement? Safety officer or engineer shall monitor and implement all HSC and environmental precautions. HSC, health, safety and environment precautions. Of course, ergonomics is also added to that. It's a part of HSC. So, safety concerned professionals shall monitor and implement all HSC precautions, and all persons involved shall be given or delivered or imparted toolbox talk for activities related and concerned and use PPE, personal protective equipment, for as well as other required equipment whenever necessary. And there are so many other words. Means when you use scaffolding, understanding means we have to do temporary access all, because it is reinforcement and is located everywhere on project area, lower level, higher level. You have all precautions necessary in that, as safety means access to site and ladders and stairs, and how to lift reinforcement, how to fabricate it in yard itself, you have to take care of, and how it is cut, how it's bent, what way, ice protection, and sometimes it's hot, and how to keep site tidy in those area where work goes on, and complete scaffolding care, and how grinder is worked, how machine works, cutting machine, how bending works machine, what precautions are required, what PPs are required. All these points we have to take care. It's not simply statement, means whatever work is done, accordingly we have to talk about. Now, material, all reinforcing bars shall be procured from approved source according to material submittal documentation records or your own decision. Here we are talking, because we are talking contract-based method statement. It's not necessary that you as a house owner, you can approve, because you have to approve your items yourself. There's no one to approve. So approve means whatever you approve. I'm saying what it is technical matter. It's reinforcing bars. It's not simply bars that you see and you buy it. Even you are in house owner, you are not technical, you must go and demand brochure or catalog or literature to know what properties these steel bars are, which grade these are, which grade your engineer told you, or which you want to place, what strength this has, how best it is, whether it is recycled steel or it's original steel. All these points you must know. It's not simply that you go and buy, no. This alone item of reinforcing bars is 60 rupees per kilo. What grade of it is, what diet is, that varies. So you cannot simply, I can't conclude simply by saying approved source. No, source you have to see. And then what way is for transport, how you want to transport. Because material is straight, it's produced straight, it's it's drawn straight in factory. It must reach site straight. You can't bend it because I have seen it. People bend it and transport it. Bars are long, they have no access, they just bend it and keep in truck. That's not correct way because you have worked on this steel by bending. And when you straighten it, you work second time. And again you bend it. This is completely not acceptable. You got my point. You buy steel from market in straight bars as factory delivers. That's simple. Don't bend it. That's what I'm saying. I'm stressing, emphasizing. You may say it's too long, we can't take it, we don't have access. Okay, don't take too long bars. Cut 12 feet or other bars, or do not accept bent bars. And it's no good because you can't test all time what's yield stress of that, and particularly in neighbor area of bent way too, it is affected. There can be internal disturbance in steel. Nobody knows, and you can't test all time. You can't check radioactive test of this. You can't pass X-rays on this. See if there are some cracks in. That's a very important point because random bending doesn't work. It doesn't give satisfactory results. So all reinforcing parts be procured from approved sources. Which one source you think is good? Then good means it should comply with your requirement. It should comply with standards according to material submitted in case it's contract work or whatever thing submittal you submit to yourself also, or your agent can submit to you. See, this is best one for you to buy, and you ask everything. After all, you are paying millions of rupees. You are paying not 1 or 2 rupee. It's not vegetable. You are going to use this for long, or you can say many decades. This item shall remain inside concrete. And it's very important one because concrete is integrated to this one, the steel, and this is called RCC. So RCC has its own word of response. You can say project engineer or quality engineer and storeman shall ensure that reinforcement materials received upon site in accordance with specification requirements, purchase order and quality documentation requirements. Of course, project engineer is responsible, quality engineer is responsible, storeman is responsible for quantity, and according to purchase order it should meet, while project engineer would ensure quality requirement, works same as defined, and also Q engineer, quality engineer. This is very prime job of all these professionals. Stores man should know how to check quantity. Of course, quality is not responsibility of storesman, but engineer, quality and engineer project, they are professional to ensure quality and how best steel it is. Then stores shall inform quality department when delivery is reinforcement delivery after transfers are made, and shall review both QA shall review reinforcement delivery and complete material receiving report. Quality documentation to be kept by quality section or department and filed accordingly. When material inspection is completed and accepted, reinforcement material shall be stored in reinforcement fabrication yard within appropriate not touch ground first of all. No steel bar should touch soil. It should be stored off ground, at least you can say 200 mm to 300 mm off ground, so the water also should not touch it if they are staying, and should be on timber pieces made platform, or it should be something else, means whatever way it is, on some bricks edges or something. So you should have some polythene sheet completely, so that no moisture ingress works on this. No moisture works on surface of steel bars. People take it jokingly, but it's no joke, it is process. All steel stored, if it is not epoxy, if it is not epoxy coated, I'm talking that case. Carbon steel bars, without epoxy coating, they come unrusted, without rust from factory, but during transportation and during storage, the body chaos and moisture from humidity or moisture from rain apply work on surface and start oxidation, which results in corrosion. So that must be taken care of. Do not laugh on that. Cover it in plastic properly while stored. No air should enter. Now come on, don't laugh. Again I'm saying, don't laugh, because it happened with me. People used to laugh if I say use cover. Method. When the enforcement is to be cut and bent, what to cut and bend, site foreman or reinforcing foreman or charge him, they should know. So they should be provided some details, some drawing and cut dimensions and shape. So that's called schedule or bar bending schedule, we call it, rebar schedule we call it. Generally used to call in 446s, now it's 886s, I'm not sure about that, but just for past to say 446s, BS we used to follow. BS 446s we used to follow, and in that 20 shape was straight, 61 shape was for ring of straps, and then there were shapes, many other shapes as well, 37 for L. Like that, many shapes were there, and it complete 2 pages or 3 pages bar bending schedule. You see, and last item is automatically calculated. Cut length is worked out, and that cut length is used for purpose of cutting and then bending. In that case, site engineer or quality engineer and foreman, reinforcing bar foreman, review schedule, allocate fabrication process to relevant fabricator or steel fixer. We know what they have to do, you have to explain to them, and they maybe know very well, it doesn't matter. They should have cut length, that's the minimum requirement. because they can calculate mistakenly, they can calculate. In cut length, bend diameters are included automatically. So this material required shall be sourced from yard storage facility. So yard is available and fabrication goes on. Now correct as given on bar schedule as a cut length, so it's cropped. Then cropping, steel fixer shall crop required bars of each diameter, so it's cutting. Upon bending of first of each bar type, it shall be checked by site engineer, quality engineer. Bar sample should be checked and others can be produced accordingly. There may be 10 bar shapes, you have to check every one. I don't think more than that in any element. So upon bending of first bar, each first type bar shall be checked by both engineers and foremen, etc. Example, as I said, for all concurrent bars or following bars of that type. Now, bending steel fixer shall fabricate required number of bars of each shape code, checking against check sample or sample we first produce. When each bar is complete, error in bending of bar shall be corrected prior to placement in storage. Now, correct bent bars shall be stored using plastic sheet cover at end of day. Bundles shall be tagged with a suitable label that indicates relevant bar reference and BBS or bar bending. Completed bundles shall be stored within reinforcement yard until such time as those are required to be taken to site. Required upon site. Completed bundles shall be stored within reinforcement yard until such time as those are required upon site. Storage shall be in accordance with procedure. For store, control by taking into stock delivered quantity into permanent material file and showing to site for required quantity for fabrication. Details for total reinforcement required for project and delivered quantity shall be recorded. So equipment are bar bending equipment or machine, cutting machine and proforma reinforcement. Though you can say, it's no problem. It's no problem, but it is completely technical work. It's complete technical work. It cannot be taken for granted. If you take it for granted, you have to suffer. You have to suffer, and that suffering is very, very, uncalled for. It shall be in good bond with concrete, and actually, when concrete performs, means this performs because reinforcement exists, concrete exists. We have to think that way. It's not simply steel that we put in. There is some way each bar is placed, and this bar has good relation of bonding with concrete and concrete with steel and steel with concrete both work together. So one doesn't work means another fails. If concrete doesn't work, steel cannot work. And if steel fails to work, concrete fails to work. So this is, you can say, integrated item, RCC. So this statement looks very small in length, but it is very important. And how to receive steel? Don't receive blindly. Steel reinforcement. And say this now. Quality steel, original steel, not recycled one. Recycled is different. Your house is not accepting recycled steel. Real steel, original production. And because this is parts and that's based on calculations, whatever design is given to you, calculations, not many. Don't think that it's just bars placed in slabs or in beams or normal. Anybody can don't think who have their formula, their sequence behind every calculation, and that calculation not valid only for steel but also for concrete. And concrete and steel work together as fair reinforcing cement concrete, reinforcing concrete. Because there are technical properties, well, concrete is good in compression and steel is good in compression and tension. So, because the deficiency in concrete is replenished by power of steel or properties of steel. So this is not ordinary steel, this is reinforcing steel. Reinforcing means something was deficient in concrete, that's why concrete cannot perform, so we put steel in to give this property to concrete, provide that. Not substandard one. You must know what's the strength of that one, what's the yield strength, how it moves, and what length is produced in that. And you must get report from this mill scale, we call it, that the test report. Of course, they won't give you blind report or fabricated one. At least you get an idea about this, which one is this. There are so many grades still available in market, and which one you are going to use, that depends upon that. Or whatever it means. Question is not saving money, question is good job.